Hello and welcome to the Music Production Podcast. This is your host, Brian Funk. I make music as AfroDJMac. And I'm talking to you today on the last day of 2017, December 31st. And I want to talk about next year really and what we're going to be doing, specifically the January 2018 challenge to start off the year. And right now you're listening to a piece I wrote last January for the January 2017 challenge. And it's a little piece of music I never would have had I not done this challenge. And I've spoken about it before on the show and let you know that it really has been a super helpful thing for me. And I got a lot out of it. So I want to kind of announce the start of January 2018. And that I'll be participating in it and all that, and what I think about it, why I think you should do it, and what we're going to do with our January jams once January is all done. So, just want to say thank you to everybody, too, for 2017. It's been a great year. I started this podcast back in the spring, and according to my Squarespace statistics, which I'm not really sure how accurate they are anyway, but apparently there are just over 26,000 people subscribing to this podcast, which kind of blows my mind. And I'm very thankful for that, and I look forward to making this year even better. And truthfully, when I started the podcast, I didn't even know if I'd be doing it, this far down the road, and now it seems like it's something I'm pretty well settled into doing. So thank you for offering your support, kind words, and encouragement, your reviews on iTunes, everything that this podcast has brought me, I really do appreciate. And we're going to start taking it into the new year now. And as I said, what I wanted to announce in the new year was the start of January 2018. And January, I believe, is the idea of Cuckoo. If you don't know Cuckoo, he's really awesome music personality out there, making all kinds of sounds and jams and sound packs. I found out about Cuckoo when I was, learning about my OP1, and I guess he picked one up right around the same time I did, and, watching him do his jams was really helpful for me and some of his tutorials, and I've been following him ever since, and he's been doing some great work. Maybe one day I'll get him on the show to talk about maybe even January 2018. We'll see. But I think this is his thing he started. If not, I'm going to give him credit for it. And whatever, it's a great idea either way. But the idea is that you create one jam every single day for the month of January. And that's why it's called January 2018. Now, the point is not to make some amazing piece of music or something that will, be even necessarily a finished product. The point is to just create some music every single day. And that can be a little jam, just playing an instrument, recording it, sharing it. It might be creating beats or grooves or working on songs. It might be full songs. You kind of never really know what's going to happen. That piece you just heard in the background was something I did about in the middle. Now, I didn't join January 2017 until about halfway through January 2017. And I made, I think, 13 jams. And the one you just heard was kind of this ambient piece that I made using the OP1. The OP1 got a lot of love last January from me. And I had this kind of atmospheric sample in the background, which was the water right on the shore of Lake George that I recorded a few years back while camping there. And I'd been sitting on this little sample of just the lake just softly coming up against the shore, real calm, without anything to do with, I didn't know what I was going to use that sample for. And it turns out it fit really nicely inside that ambient piece of music. And I think it sort of captures the spirit of what we're trying to do, is just get ourselves making music as much as possible, to make it a routine and to make it something that is a regular part of our day. And it's a challenge. And, I didn't make it every single day. I didn't even start till halfway through, as I said, but Once I got started, I made almost every day. Just about. I got 13 jams in, and they were all over the place, lots of different stuff, experimenting with different instruments, different sound packs of mine. It was a great chance to focus on just making music. And the point is to really lower the bar, to not be worried about how great it comes out. The goal of it is to just make music. So even if you're making something you don't like or you might be embarrassed by, you've accomplished the goal for the day. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that I got out of it that helped my own creativity and how I expect to further expand upon that this year, and then to take it into the next month, which is February. And I'll talk to you something about that I want to call Finish February 2018. And that's where we're going to take our jams from January 2018 and finish them and make maybe an EP or an album or something during the month of February. So the point is to make a jam. It can just be playing an instrument. It can be making a beat, fooling around with the gear, and to share it. And one of the most popular places it's being shared is Instagram. And now we can follow hashtags on Instagram, which is pretty cool and helpful for this exercise. So follow the hashtag January 2018. It's January spelt with an M, 2018. And already you can see people are kind of gearing up. There's a few posts now. And I'm sure you're going to see as the month rolls in, there's going to be a lot. And that's going to be a great source of inspiration too. I look forward to seeing what other people make and using that as my own inspiration. So let's talk about this a little bit. Why are we even doing this? And what are some of the things we can pay attention to and try to focus on? And maybe some inspiration I can give you in the form of what other people are doing. So the first thing I think, and the most obvious thing, is discipline. This is going to make you do something every single day over and over again. And that's really how habits are formed. And if you want to really get anywhere doing your music or doing anything, really, you're going to need to have a discipline about it. You're never going to accomplish anything if you just do it once in a while when you feel like it. So what this will do is force you to make music even when you don't feel like it. Now, some days you'll be super motivated. You're going to be excited. You want to try something out. Great. But there will be other days when you kind of don't want to do it. And your mind is going to find plenty of excuses that will let you off the hook. Now, since you know you have to put something out there every single day, this will help you get going. This will be that thing that just kind of nags you into doing it. So the point is to show up each and every day. There's no penalty for not showing up, but it's a little challenge you're giving yourself. Can you show up? Can you make music every day? It doesn't have to be super amazing. It doesn't have to take you a long time to do, but the point is you're doing it every day. You're taking some time. And we're going to focus on the work and not the outcome. So the point is to just get to work and do things. The point is not how good it comes out or if it's a big success or anything like that. The point is just that we're doing the work. And by doing the work, you will find growth. You'll at least learn things. And if you're lucky, like I consider myself to be, I came up with a lot of cool music last month that I really enjoy. And listening back on the 13 tracks that I did, some of them, are okay, whatever. They're just kind of little jams. But some of them are actually some pretty cool pieces of music, a couple cool little songs, some more developed than others. But it's really nice just to have that there and to see like the progress and some of the things I've learned. So we're going to show up. We're going to focus on the work. We're going to try to also avoid the distractions that stop us from doing our work. And this is part of the discipline to maybe decide that you're going to make your little jam for the day instead of, one of the many millions of things that distract us from our work every day. So maybe this might mean not surfing the internet or going on Facebook or whatever for quite as long, and instead just doing some music first. Make that the priority. And I think you'll probably find that you are a lot more distracted than you realize. I know I am. I know that I think I'm doing something real quick. Maybe I'm just checking email and it winds up taking like an hour. And we're going to try to prioritize things. So it's a good lesson in prioritizing. getting things that are most important to you done first before you do the things that are less important and are more busy work. The concept of doing it anyway, or I kind of like the way Joe Rogan puts it. He says, conquering your inner bitch. And he talks about that with working out a lot. But this idea that there's going to be that part of you that doesn't want to do it sometimes and will be pretty convincing. Stephen Pressfield talks about resistance, and this is the same thing. This is any force that prevents you from getting to work, and you're going to find it, and it will do its best to stop you from making your music for that day. But the point is to fight through it anyway, conquer that inner bitch, and then when you're done, you can look back and feel good about what you did and know that you were able to overcome anything that stopped you along the way, or would have maybe normally stopped you if you didn't have this little goal to complete a piece of music or make a little jam every single day. Another important thing that we're going to be able to do during our January 2018 adventure is explore and experiment and just try things out and not be so concerned about the results, but more just trying to do something. Now, what's really kind of cool about this being a big movement that people are doing is that you're going to get that kind of groupthink motivation, that group, you don't want to be the only one not doing it kind of thing, where you see other people going and moving forward, and it kind of makes you say, all right, if they can do it, then I can do it. And this is the type of thing that, helps people in like exercise classes, or if you go running with a friend, you don't want to be the one that stops. And you will often push yourself a lot harder seeing that other people are still going and haven't given up either. And this can be really motivating. So you're going to have that going for you too. And another nice thing, and I do recommend you follow the hashtag January 2018, is that you're going to see what other people are doing. You're going to get inspired by them. They're going to be doing things that maybe you haven't tried yet or never thought to try. They're going to be using different instruments or gear, having different approaches, and that can be used for inspiration. There's lots of cool stuff going on. I've already seen some people messing around with some gear that I want to play with, tape machines, and some of like the synthesizers that I even have lying around that I haven't really explored deeply. So it's a great chance to try out some new gear that you have, but it's also, and this is probably a better way to think about it, this is a chance to really get a feel for some of that stuff you already own that's been lying around. Maybe this is like plugins, hardware, or instruments, but I'm sure that you've got a lot of gear lying around that you haven't explored fully. And for me, there's plenty of things, and a lot of it's just digital. It's plugins, it's sample packs, it's stuff I've made myself. I don't always get a lot of time to explore all these creations that I'm making, and it's nice to have a chance to just do that. Last year I did that quite a bit. I had a lot of time to explore. One of my jams, for instance, was using the 12 Synths of Christmas Ableton Live pack that I made, which was 12 operator instruments that I created that had like a Christmas theme. And I didn't get to play with those until it looks like January 22nd. So I was sitting on those for a month. I made them, gave them away, and I myself had very little time to play with them. I also had a chance to kind of fool around with some cool Max for Live stuff that Isotonic was doing. Brainwash HD, for instance, was a really fun one. Really fun jam that day. I did some generative music using some of their apps, the Arcade series, and also it was Sonic Faction. Their Tricky Traps came in handy. And these are things like that I really enjoyed and had a lot of fun with, but as the busyness of the day and, all the projects that you might be doing sometimes get in the way of allowing you to really explore that stuff. So this is a nice chance to do that too. And I encourage you to maybe make a decision each day, like, all right, today I'm going to fool around with this plugin that I haven't really explored enough, or this instrument, or I'm going to, basically set up what you're going to do first, and then make your jam an exploration of that little workspace or that little set of tools that you've decided to use. And again, I encourage you to keep an eye on what other people are doing, because that's going to help you, for one, realize it's not impossible because other people are doing it, but also that you're going to see some other approaches to making music that might be a little project for you to do the next day. Another thing that I think January is really good for is kind of breaking up the creative process or the whole task of making a track. It breaks it up into its smaller components, and you get a chance to focus on one of them in particular, which is more the creation stage. Now, I've got a little article I wrote about separating your left and right brain, and I found a really cool post on the forum, Ableton's forum, by Jason Timothy, who's been on this show, about using the left and right brain. It's back from like 2009, actually. Just found it today as I was thinking about this podcast, but the idea that we sort of have these two different parts of our brain, the left side, which is the more creative, explorative side, and the right side, which is the more analytical and logical side. And for January 2018, we're going to really be spending our time on the left side of the brain, I think, where we're coming up with ideas. And that's the spirit of this whole thing, is to just come up with ideas, try things out, explore. So the more ideas, the better. I mean, you have to come up with something every day. So that's 31 projects to come up with. So the more ideas, the merrier for that. You're going to explore and challenge yourself. But you're also going to try to, not worry about how good things are. So this is turning off kind of the right side of the brain a little bit, that wants to judge things, that wants to edit, that wants to analyze, that wants to tweak things. So if you're anything like me, these two sides of the process really get confused often as I'm working. I might be starting off with that left side creative, motivation, where I come up with a sound or a melody, chord progression, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden the right side kicks in and either wants to edit it or tweak it, compress it, EQ it, make it sounding perfect. Or at its worst, will pop in and say, hey, this sucks. Give up. Do something different. This is no good. We can't do anything with that. So this is going to be a bit of an exercise in just letting ideas blossom as they would normally, to let them just happen naturally, to see them through until they're done without, worrying about how good it is, because you don't really have time for that in this exercise. You're not going to have a lot of time to constantly making a masterpiece every day, because, there's just not enough hours in the day. We're busy, and you're not going to be able to, I don't think you're going to be able to give up an entire month, 24 hours a day, to making perfect music. That's not what this is about. So we're going to be kind of trusting our gut and trusting our creative process a little bit, and just seeing where it takes us and putting that out there. And that is a big part of it, putting it out there, I think, just to be a part of the community and share what you're doing. This can be really nice that way. To be kind of present in your music making without the kind of analytical side, worrying about like how good this is going to come out or what the final product is going to be. That's not the point for this. The point here is to just be in the now, listen for inspiration to move forward and just create and put it out there. And it doesn't matter how good it is. Again, lower the bar, keep that bar low so that you're not being too critical and you're not getting frustrated. I think it's a good chance too to kind of listen for inspiration, because you're going to need it every single day. Where can you find inspiration in your world? Is it music you're hearing, TV shows you watch, or conversations you're having, or sounds you hear around you? Try to find unusual sources of inspiration. I definitely recommend taking some notes, writing down ideas when they come to you, so that when you do have the time to sit down and work on your daily jam, you can get right to work. You don't have to think of what you're going to do so much. You're going to just jump in with your idea. You're ready to go. And again, time management is going to be crucial in order to make this happen. So you're going to have to make the most of your time. And being prepared is going to be a big part of this. So about inspiration, there's a couple things I want to point you to that might give you some ideas and on things you can do. And I'm going to put links to this in the show notes, so definitely check out the website for this post, which will be at afrodjmac.com/podcast. It'll be the December 31st post, which I believe is the 45th episode. And I'll put some links there. For one, I'll put my article that I wrote about separating the left and right brain. It's called How to Be More Creative. And it talks about basically not killing your ideas before they've had a chance to, mature and grow up, and to just stay in that creative phase as long as possible without the critical part coming in. And of course, that is pretty difficult, but I think this one of the biggest sources we get for like writer's block is when we want everything to be perfect right from the start, and this is not about that. So I'll put that post up. I'm also going to put this forum post from 2009 that Jason Timothy put up. Jason from musicsoftwaretraining.com. He's been on the podcast too, so you can check him out there. He's awesome. I can't wait to talk to him again because he's got a great way of seeing things and a great handle on the philosophy behind making music. We've really only scratched the surface in that episode, and I know we kind of left it saying like, man, we didn't get to anything we wanted to talk about. So he's a great source too. I'll put that post up. I'm really a big fan of the Fact Magazine Against the Clock series. So if you haven't seen this yet, go to factmag.com or go to YouTube and look up Against the Clock. You'll find it right away. It's a whole series of producers making a track in 10 minutes. So they set the clock for 10 minutes, and then they have to jump in and make some piece of music. It's a lot like what we're doing here, except there you have the 10-minute time limit. So sometimes you'll see people start from scratch with absolutely nothing. Sometimes people start with templates. I don't really know what the rule is, but I guess the goal is to just make some music in 10 minutes. What can you do in that short amount of time? And it's really interesting to watch how people kind of cut the fluff. They don't spend a lot of time searching through presets, or they don't spend a lot of time on these little things that often occupy a lot of our music making. You're not going to see anyone like painstakingly compressing a snare drum or something like that, because there's just no time for that. It really helps you prioritize what you're doing, and it's fun to watch different producers in that zone. Sometimes they make really great pieces of music, and sometimes it never really gets off the ground. And again, it's just a challenge. It's not to say like who's better at it, because I'm sure on any given day, one person might do great and another person might do terrible, and then the next day it might flip-flop. Who knows? But I always get inspired when I watch them. So then they're relatively short. They're about 10 minutes. So you can get your little inspiration there. I think also just, listen to some music is going to help. Find yourself some music. Look at what some of your favorite influences are listening to, and maybe try to find something there. And again, check out the hashtag January2018, especially on Instagram. You'll see these short 1-minute videos of people making jams. And I think that's going to be, for me, probably one of the biggest motivating factors, is just seeing what other people are doing and then trying things that, I get inspired to do based off of that. What else can we do to make this a reality? I'm going to say set limitations. Make decisions about what you're going to do before you do it. Don't show up in your studio space with this kind of anything can happen feeling. I think that's where we get lost in searching through sounds and samples and presets and instruments and never actually make anything. So maybe decide like, okay, today I'm going to work with just this. Maybe it's a couple drum samples you found and you're going to use those, or you recorded something, during your day, some sound somewhere, and you're going to use that as like a part of the track, or there's a new toy you want to play with, or some instrument you haven't explored. My advice is make that decision first. Decide what you're going to do, get it together, and then go, so that you're not really tempted to wander off too much and get caught in some of those traps that ultimately prevent us from getting music finished. So set your workspace up in advance, or make decisions about what you're going to use. Give yourself limitations. That's going to help a lot. Maybe you're only going to use a certain number of tracks or a certain piece of gear. I think that's a big one. Also, maybe it might be a good idea to set a time that you're going to do this every day or make it a routine. So maybe you're going to do it first thing in the morning, last thing at night, or somewhere in the middle of the day. I think setting a routine time is going to be a really good idea. And having things ready to go, too, in case, that routine time doesn't work out one day. You might be able to slip in real quick before or after something to get it done. And I think that's pretty much what I want to say about this. I'm pretty excited about it because I know it was a lot of fun last year. I am nervous because it seems pretty daunting right now. It's going to mean that I'm going to have to do 31 things every single day without a break. Hopefully I can manage to do that every day. I can't promise I will, but that's what I'm striving for. And the other thing that's probably going to make this a little more challenging for me is I want to share this via the podcast. So each day I want to share the piece of music I've made and maybe just some words about how I did it, what the process was, and maybe if I learned anything or any blocks I ran into. I'd like to talk about it a little bit. I think it's going to be a good thing for me alone, just kind of cataloging my thoughts and noticing my patterns and where I get stuck. But I'm thinking that it might also be helpful for other people that are probably going through the same thing as me. So you can expect a lot more podcasts coming up for the month of January. I'm hoping to do one every day, just explaining what I did. They might be a little short. I don't know. We'll see how much I have to say about that. But I'll also be posting on Instagram, AfroDJMac. That's Instagram.com/AfroDJMac. I'll post there. I'm probably going to put these on SoundCloud. I'll be putting them around. I'll definitely be posting on my website, AfroDJMac.com. But the podcast, I plan to make the main vehicle for this project. So check it out there. I should probably also just mention that you should check out what Cuckoo's doing. You can find him at Instagram.com/TrueCuckoo. He's going to be posting his stuff every day. And like I said, I think he's kind of the ringleader or creator of this. Not sure. I'm giving him credit. It's how I found out about it. I think it's a great exercise. And I'll just give you a little brief mention of what I plan on doing with all this is to take this into February. So by the end of January, you're going to have 31 different little jams. So I'd like to then, in February, do something called #FinishFebruary 2018. And the idea for that will be to take all these ideas you've worked on and start kind of using the right brain now, editing, arranging, coming up with, arrangements and full songs and full tracks, and hopefully finishing at least, say, a couple song EP or at least a piece of music in February. If that's something that you haven't done in a while, this is a good chance to get it done. So you'll have kind of your palette of ideas, and then in February, we'll try to make tracks out of it. And hopefully there'll be enough people involved that you might even be able to collaborate with others and help them get their work done and get through some of the stops and blocks that we have, that we all run into along the way. So, again, I invite you to join me for January 2018. Every day, create a little piece of music. It does not have to be great. It does not have to be finished. It does not have to be anything. It just has to be a little music you create every day. And it's a practice in discipline. It's a practice in separating the different tasks that your mind has to do every time you make music. And it's a journey of exploration. It's a little bit of an adventure. And I guarantee you will end the month having things you wouldn't have ordinarily had you not been a part of this challenge. So again, #January 2018. Thanks so much for listening. I look forward to see what you make. Take care. See you tomorrow.